And now to the news. Voters in 6 states went to the polls yesterday to cast their ballots in primary elections.
President Donald Trump also made his pick in the Republican primary for U.S. Senate in Texas, giving his vote to the state's Attorney General Ken Paxton over incumbent Senator John Cornyn. NBC's Alice Barr has more.
President Trump notching another victory in his scorecard of Republican foes ousted from Congress with his hand-picked challenger Ed Galrine.
I want to thank President Trump for his support.
Projected to topple 7-term Kentucky Congressman Thomas Massie, who defended the times he bucked his party.
If the legislative branch always votes with the president, we do have a king.
Clashes with Massie over the budget, the war with Iran, and the Epstein files angered President Trump.
Thomas Massie's a terrible congressman.
The president now setting his sights on a Texas Republican Senate runoff, pitting longtime incumbent Senator John Cornyn against Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, who just picked up President Trump's endorsement.
He thinks I'm the best candidate and that I will actually help him get some of these things done.
The president on Truth Social called Cornyn a good man he'd worked well with, but said, quote, he was not supportive of me when times were tough. Cornyn responding to the Paxton endorsement.
I think that will certainly have an impact, but we're not giving up the fight.
The power of the president's backing on full display, even as his approval ratings are falling, with control of the House and Senate on the line. In another race critical to that power battle, Georgia Republican Congressman Mike Collins and former football coach Derek Dooley projected to be headed for a Senate runoff to take on Democratic incumbent Senator Jon Ossoff in a battleground state key to deciding the fate of the president's agenda in Congress. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
The U.S. Department of Justice is threatening to sue the state of Maine over the state's refusal to issue undercover license plates to federal immigration agents.
Yeah, that's right. That happened in January during what federal officials called Operation Catch of the Day. Maine Secretary of State Shenna Bellows made the decision to deny the plates. At the time, she told us she did not want to enable the operation. The Justice Department sent a letter to Attorney General Aaron Frey last week demanding Maine rescind the policy by this Friday. The letter says the policy puts federal agents at risk of being threatened and harassed. Secretary Bellows says she is not intimidated by the DOJ.
Trump's DOJ doesn't scare me. It's important to stand up for Mainers, including new Mainers, and it is really important that they not be arresting people in secret. We don't have secret police in a democracy. We're not giving ICE undercover license plates for civil immigration enforcement.
Bellows is one of 5 Democrats running for governor. At the time of the ICE operation in Maine, she declined to share how many undercover license plates had been requested. That ICE operation targeted 1,400 people and more than 200 were arrested.
The city of South Portland is considering whether to renew its contract for flock cameras. The department uses automated license plate recognition cameras in high traffic areas around the city and on police cruisers. While the department has been using that technology since 2011, it signed a contract for new cameras with Flock Safety last year. Last night, the City Council held a meeting to get input from residents. Many people say the data collected from the cameras could be abused, while the police chief says they bring more security to the community.
I'm your police chief, and I'm telling you that we are safer with these cameras, period.
Public safety matters deeply, but safety without accountability quickly becomes control. And democratic societies are supposed to place limits on concentrated power.
The City Council says it will continue to hold public meetings to discuss the cameras. Former residents of the Maine Youth Detention Center, now known as Long Creek Youth Development Center, are suing the Maine Department of Corrections. 9 adults who were held at the center in the 90s are suing the department and 58 individuals who were involved in the facility. Court documents include details of alleged abuse, specifically how plaintiffs say they were beaten, assaulted, and locked in isolation for months. The attorney leading the case, Tom Hallett, says the plaintiffs are now in their 40s, but their time at the youth center was traumatic.
We put details in it because we wanted to make sure that the courts understood the severity of the conduct that was involved here. This wasn't just a couple of rogue guards. This was a policy. This was the Maine Youth Center custom.
Hallett says it will take a long time to serve the nearly 60 defendants in the case. He expects to go before a judge for the first time within the next 6 months, but he says he has no estimated timeline beyond that. The Department of Corrections says it cannot comment on pending litigation.
Today, Mr. Horn, from your perspective.
Jury selection is expected to start today for the trial of a man accused of killing his ex-girlfriend. Richard Thorpe is charged with murder, the death of Virginia Cookson. She was found strangled in her home in Bangor in 2024. Court documents say Cookson and Thorpe started dating in April of that year, but broke up shortly before her death. Documents also say days before Cookson was killed, her family reported that Thorpe showed up at her home and they recently threatened to kill her. Thorpe has pleaded not guilty to her murder.